This is Ted Kelly with another Ted's Hospitality Minute. Hey, today we've got a great guest on, Holly Hempel with Nelson Mullen, and she's going to tell us a little bit about some pending legislation that's coming up in the Georgia House that may have an impact on hotel owners and potential hotel owners. Hi, Holly. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ted. Thanks for having me.
Oh, awesome. Hey, tell us a little bit about you first before we get into that, and tell us a little bit about your background and how you decided you wanted to be an attorney.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. So my name's Holly Hempel. I'm an attorney here at Nelson Mullen in Atlanta, Georgia. I have been practicing for about 20 years. I graduated in 1999 from Wake Forest, and I moved to Atlanta. I was sort of drawn to Atlanta after the Olympics, and moved here and have had a great career almost exclusively at Nelson Mullen's. I practice all on the litigation defense side, and I have defended a lot of hotels over the years. I've always been really interested in premises liability, and believe it or not, I was a police officer before I went to law school. And so I had some firsthand experience with, some of the criminal issues that come up at hotels. And I was also a waitress for many years at resorts and hotels. So I have a lot of experience, practical, but I've always focused on the hospitality industry and defending hotels and being involved in that.
Wow, awesome. All right. Well, tell us what's coming up with this legislation that might have a serious impact on us. And I'm assuming, does it have an impact regarding COVID as well? I'm assuming.
Yeah, so it's actually designed to prevent tort liability for premises owners and businesses, so hotels should be included in that, and it's specifically related to COVID. So the legislation I'm going to talk about is here in Georgia, but I think many states will have similar legislation either pending or soon to be passed. So Georgia's should be passed by August 7th. And yeah, I'll just tell you a little bit about what it is, what it's proposed to be, the history, and how it would impact the hotel business. If that's okay?
Yes.
So in Georgia, what the law is called is it's currently Senate Bill 359, and it's known as Georgia COVID-19 Pandemic Business Safety Act. So when you're looking in your states, you could find probably something related to COVID and business or premises and see what those protections are. So what the proposed legislation is, and if it's signed into law, which we expect it to be, it will provide substantial limitations on liability to businesses against tort claims. So it's essentially tort reform, and it's related to COVID-19 claims. So the idea is just to prevent frivolous lawsuits that could be on the rise after COVID passes or while we're still in the pandemic. So the history of it and how it's evolved is that it started with hospitals and other healthcare providers requesting immunity for treating COVID patients or related to COVID liability. And so then it eventually broadened into sports venues and other, restaurants and other businesses. And now it's emerged to be extremely widespread, and it's protects all businesses. So it includes any entity, and the word entity is defined very, very broadly. So it doesn't say hotels in the definition, but it's so broad that we believe it definitely would include hotels. So just to give you a flavor of it, it says any association, institution, corporation, company, trust, limited liability company, partnership, very broad. And then it goes on to include, partners, managers, officers, directors. So it's really broad. So we believe it definitely would include hotels and folks who work at hotels. So if you're, looking in your legislation in your state, you'd want to make sure you're covered.
Wow, that's awesome. So for the average hotel guy, say a mom and pop type guy, that puts in at least a little bit of protection from them from being, at risk for someone coming in and just deciding that, oh, we want to sue you because we think we got, potential risk here with COVID. Because it kind of seems like it goes along the lines that when we changed the ADA laws regarding hotels, how hotels were really at risk because they got a lot of drive-by ADA lawsuits against them for just folks just said, oh, you're not ADA compliant, so we're going to sue you. And it's like a bunch of frivolous lawsuits coming at the hotel owners. And obviously, like I said, if you're a mom and pop shop, that can really put you out of business quick, as opposed to being a large real estate investment trust that's really got some real good legal representation. But that's great to know because I could see where that could really get out of hand probably pretty quick, especially with the industry trying to bounce back from being where it is right now, right? So it's that's a really interesting point right there. What else do we need to know about it?
Yeah, so the next important part is just what are the protections? What are the limitations on liability? So the Georgia legislation at least specifically defines what the claim is. So they call it a COVID-19 liability claim. And it's really a broad definition. So it covers all causes of action arising from the transmission, infection, exposure, or potential exposure to COVID-19. So it's really broad. So someone couldn't say, well, I think I got it at your premises, right?
Right. 'Cause so we've got hotels right now playing preventative mode where they're really trying to kind of upgrade the standards. And most times the hospitality industry has been pretty good about having really good high standards for cleanliness. So right now they're even raising that a little bit more to try to make sure they're doing a lot of prevention things to prevent folks from coming into their environment and being susceptible to, you know, the risk that's exposed to them by COVID. So it's kind of good that they're trying to put things in place to try to prevent that because they are putting the right effort toward minimizing, you know, the exposure to guests as they come into their environment. So what other points would you like to make about that?
Yeah, so the only really exception to that, what I just read, is if there's some type of gross negligence on the part of the premises owner. Of course, you know, that would be the type of action that would cause punitive damages. So obviously no one's intentionally trying to give someone COVID or you know, be completely reckless in their standards. So this just nicely dovetails with what you talked about, which is premises owners and hotels are already doing what they should be doing, following CDC guidelines. This just gives them some extra protection. You know, I think the very last thing, and this kind of explains sort of the justification for the whole thing, is we've all heard of assumption of the risk. So anyone who currently is staying at a hotel recognizes that we're in the middle of a pandemic and there's risk with everything we do, whether it's going to the grocery store or the bank or staying in a hotel. So that's sort of what's driving this. And at least the Georgia legislation sets forth some specific and practical guidelines of what hotels and businesses should do. So I just want to run over those quickly. So the Georgia legislation specifically outlines what you should do to take advantage of this, and it talks about posting signage or including specific language provided in the statute, either in the purchase documents or on a receipt. So I was thinking for a hotel, there should be signage in the lobby, maybe on all the exit and entrance doors. On the original check-in paperwork, there should be a little, you know, blurb about what specific languages, and then even on the folio at the end, so you're just completely covered. So that's important just to look at that, and each statute probably has its own specific guidance. So in Georgia, there's granular detail about what should be included down to the font size and the size of the warning. So my suggestion would be for everyone to look at the legislation that might protect them and then just specifically follow it to protect themselves the most that they can.
That's awesome. So as long as you guys are being proactive, which they are, about posting signage, we're putting up protective barriers between the check-in, and actually they're trying to minimize the check-in interaction anyway. You know, the hand sanitizers, the extra cleaning, the spacing out of the furniture, as long as they're doing all of these recommended things that CDC and the American Hotel and Lodging Association is recommending, it sounds like this is just an added protection for them from being hit by something that really is frivolous.
That's right.
So how do they find out more information about this pending law if they want to read more about it?
Sure. So we have at our firm a lobbyist group which shared this information with me. And so you could go to our Nelson Mullen's website or contact me directly, and I'll give you my contact information and I can share that information. And then also for other states outside of Georgia, you know, you can just Google it or look in your legislation websites for each state. And then I would research keywords like COVID and business protection. yeah, so my name again is Holly Hempel. My email is holly.hempel, Hempel, at nelsonmullins.com. And you're welcome to call me anytime. My phone number is 404-322-6198.
Awesome. Holly, thanks so much for your time today. This has been informative and actually something I wasn't aware was happening. So it's good to know that there is legislation that's coming out that's trying to protect the hotel industry from frivolous lawsuits like that. This has been Ted Kelly with another Ted's Hospitality Minute. Hey, you guys have a great week and a great day. Thanks so much.